Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining us today for Peter on Meter Draw Along. We're going to draw and animate Peter on Meter from the book. So I see some people are joining us live. Thank you. Say hello in the chat and where you're coming from. So I'll introduce myself also. I'm Tricia Fuglestad. I'm the author, illustrator, and animator of Peter on Meter. And who do we have? We have, let's see, say where you're from also. Where are you coming from? So I'm in the Chicagoland area in Illinois. And we have a whole bunch of, I see Greece. I see some people joining us on LinkedIn. I see people's first names and last names, but I don't know where you're from, but welcome. Oh, there's Romania. Thank you very much for saying where you're from. I see Afrin is from India. I almost said it, Indiana. That's different. India. We've got Dr. Robin from Florida. So nice. Oh, we have Philippa from Philadelphia and Katrina from Arlington, Texas. Thank you so much. Oh, we've got Mondi from Netherlands. Morgan from Nigeria. Wow. People from all over. We've got a viewer from Jordan. We have Nigeria. You have some names that are going to be hard for me to pronounce, but I really appreciate you being here. And thank you. I'm glad you like my voice. All right, so while we are gathering from all over the world, here we have Egypt also, I want you to make sure you're gathering the things that you need to draw along with me. So at the bottom of the screen, it says download a coloring page. So that coloring page is this one. And we're going to be looking at Peter from the book, and we're going to try to draw him, but then we're also going to animate him using an app that uses AI. And while we're getting ourselves ready, if you can download this coloring page, then you'll have something to reference, because I'm an elementary art teacher, so I'm going to be leading you through step by step how to do this drawing. But I always like my students to have a reference so they can see what we're doing. And this particular sheet is more than just a reference. It is going to unlock some augmented reality for you. Because if you remember at the beginning, I said I am the author, illustrator, and animator of Peter and Meter, which means that there's animations to be found in this book that come to life with augmented reality. And this sheet that you're downloading right now, if you can, if not, go back and do this later after the live stream is done. You'll be able to use the Quiver app. That's Quiver. It's a free app, and it'll help you unlock some augmented reality. Peter comes off the page and starts to move, and you can see him in 3D. And then you could also click and interact with him and see all the different emotions that he experiences. So that happens by scanning this QR code at the bottom. Okay, so you definitely want to download that. And the next thing you're going to need is some paper, something to draw with, maybe something to color with, and maybe a straight edge. I'm using my old expired, this is a library card, and I think it's 12 years old right now, but it's a nice shape and size for making straight edges. So it's been helpful for me when I draw Peter on Meter. Okay, I am hoping that you have gathered your supplies and you're ready to work with me. I'm going to make sure that I'm all set up. I'm going to save this. I'm going to use my reference as a guide. I have my blank sheet of paper. And before we get started, the app that we're going to use has some requirements. And so we're going to make sure we draw in a way that works well with the app. One thing that they say is to draw a full body on a blank piece of paper. So make sure that your paper doesn't have any extra writing on it or lines on it. Blank is the best. And then you don't want to draw too small. Do you agree that this is a little too small? If you draw too small, like this one probably would work, but I trace everything in black marker so that it shows up really good, and it just turned out really blurry because I worked too small. The other thing that you don't want to do is work too big. If you work too big, yes, you do get to put in all your details, but look at what happens down here. I know. Those arms got cut off and those legs got cut off. And that won't be as fun in the animation. To have the full body there will definitely be worth the effort of trying to get that full body showing up. It's going to be way cute. So we're aiming for a full body drawing that looks like this. Okay. Now, let me just help you think about how the whole body fits on this paper. I like to visualize this before I begin. I'm thinking about what is the size of that head compared to my little card. It's smaller, right? What's the size of this rectangle compared to the card? Ooh, it's pretty close. It's just shorter. And here's something I want you to notice. This right here is the center of the drawing. That is the middle. So if this is the top and this is the bottom, the middle of the paper or the middle of the drawing is the bottom edge of the front of Hero Meter's body. Just keep that in mind so that you can get your proportions as close as possible to make sure that you can fit the whole body on your paper. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started then. So we're going to start with some rectangles. And that means, is everybody ready? I'm hoping that you're all ready. Do we have kids in the audience? I'm hoping that we have some children that are drawing along. Now remember, if I go too fast, this is going to be recorded and you can go back and fix it. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. I'm going to draw I'm leaving some space at the top because Peter's lid is flipped. Did you notice that about him? His lid is flipped on the top of his head. So when your lid is flipped, what do you think that really means? Does anybody know? You can say in the chat. It's an idiom in the United States to flip your lid. What do you think it really means? I see there's some new comments. Okay. Well, if you are in the coloring page and you look at it with Quiver, you're going to see that he flips his lid and something comes out of the top. So that'll be fun for you to explore. I'm going to start this rectangle next. This is the front of Peter's body. I'm making it slightly larger than this one. It's not that much larger, but it is the same thickness as my card. So I'm going to go ahead and make, those are horizontal lines. Now I'm making vertical lines to connect and make a rectangle. Okay, so I have the start of the head and I have the start of the body, but I want to make sure those feet are going to make it to the bottom or near the bottom of the page. So I'm going to think about how these feet have little rectangles in them. Do you see those little rectangles? Maybe you could see it better here. It has these little rectangles, and I'm not exactly at the bottom of the paper. So let me think about, like, if I were underneath, probably about right here. I'm going to start those rectangles and then finish them so they're kind of small, and rectangles have 4 sides, vertical and horizontal. That's a good start. So I just started with my rectangles. I've got head, body, and the start of my feet, and I'm ready to go. So we're going to start out with what I think this is a little bit tricky. We're going to show dimension on the body. So he's going to have depth. Right now, Peter is measured in 2 ways. He has height, he has width, but now we want to add a 3rd way to measure him. We want to give him depth. That's what makes him 3D, or appear to be 3D in our drawing. So I'm going to start by going to these corners, these 2 corners right here. And I'm going to make a diagonal line, but I'm going to stop. It doesn't touch anything. How about I zoom in a little bit more for you? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to try another diagonal line. And again, I'm not touching anything because I need to make the neck next. Try saying that a couple times. Neck next. When you come down with the neck, it won't touch the front. It's going to go into a collar and it overlaps this back line. There's a lot going on. So that one has to go next. And it's going to be about a pinky thick. So I'm going to visualize it first, right about here. When I start those lines, I am not going to connect to anything. Okay, so that neck is going to go into a collar, and it's like a sideways C. That's my first step. Are you able to see that? And then I'm going to do a second one right around it. So there's his collar. And then I'm ready to do that back edge. That back edge will close that shape. And I have to stop and start again to make room for overlapping. So that line implies the back edge of the body. So here we are. So we've got this 3 dimensions now. We've got height, width, and now we can see some depth. This is the illusion of 3-dimensional work. When you scan this coloring page, you'll see another version of 3-dimensional Peter and Meter, because it'll look like it's right in front of you with augmented reality. All right, I'd like to go and try to connect these feet to the body, but when I do that, I have to add some more detail before I make those legs. So let me zoom in a bit and show you what that detail is going to look like. Again, I have height and width. Now I'm going to do a little bit of depth. So that's some diagonal lines coming from the top corners. I'm going to do that on both. Diagonal lines coming from the top corners. How is everybody doing? Are you catching up with me? Am I going too fast? Remember, if I am going too fast, you can just pause this later. You can even rewind right now and go back and see what I've done. We're going to add some horizontal ovals for his ankles. You see that? So oval for the ankle. And now we're ready to connect. So when I think about the width of his leg, it's going to be a little bit wider than that neck was. A little bit wider. Trying to be centered. So let's see. Let me just get these outside edges done first and see how he's looking. And then this looks like it'll work. Yep. And we'll try this one. So we've got him connected now. We can see the beginning of his head, his body, all the way down to the legs. Let's add dimension to his leg, or his head, And then we can flip his lid and get that started. Let me zoom in on that. So remember, we've got height, width. Now we're adding depth to make him more 3D. We're doing those angles, those diagonals. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and connect this with a horizontal line. And we're going to start to flip that lid. So I'm going to think about that lid coming from 2 points here. You see what I just did? And then I'm just going to do a curve and a matching curve. Then I'm going to connect. And then these two vertical or horizontal lines are going to be like an open space that's created inside of his head. So like you would be able to look into Peter Meter's head in this spot. In the augmented reality version, you'll see what comes out of his head when he flips his lid. Did anybody write in the comments what it means to flip your lid? I didn't get a chance to see. Okay, how about some shoulders? Let's try that. Fight or flight. Ooh. All right. We're going to start the shoulders. I like to start, let me zoom again, but with like a starting point and a stopping point. It's like connecting the dots when you do it that way. So the shoulder is going to start here and it's going to stop here. And here's what I mean. I'm going to make a half circle. I start and I stop. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to find about midway. There's my start. Here's my stop. I'm going to do a half circle. So now I have shoulders that are connected for Peter. Now, I like to connect the dots whenever I can, so I can measure and get things the right way and get my proportions correct. So I'm thinking about these elbows next, and then these wrists. So the elbows seem to be just below the middle of this rectangle. So here's the middle of the rectangle, somewhere about right there. So I'm going to draw a circle for the elbow, circle for the elbow. And I want to make sure the elbows aren't overlapping the body, so not too tight and close to the body, because that'll matter when we do the augmented reality or the animation step, okay? So I also want to think about these wrists. So these wrists are going to be, they look like they're about right here. So I want to be symmetrical, the same on both sides, the best I can. So I'm going to think about that. Time to connect the dots. If you have your elbows and your wrists, then we're just going to start connecting everything together. So from the shoulder to the elbow, from the shoulder to the elbow. Same thing on both sides, trying to be symmetrical. Now from the elbow to the wrist, same on both sides. So it could be symmetrical. It's a little thinner down here, isn't it? And that's the way arms really are too. Okay, we're going to start those hands. And the hands are really just a couple lines. The first line is like, do you see this curve right here on that circle? I'm going to start low. I'm going to match that curve, and then I'm going to go low again. So what did I really do? I made an upside down U. Next, I'm going to make an upside down V. Here's my V. My V stops at that circle and connects. So it's like a U and a V. Now, I could have made that more rounded. Let's see. I'm going to try this again. A big U and a big upside down V. And then we have the hands. I made it more rounded in this one, but either way works. While I'm here, how about I start to add some more detail to these legs? Do you see this squiggle line? Those are springs. And the springs you'll see in the augmented reality version of Peter, what they do when you scan and see it come to life. It's 3D. So this squiggle line, I just try to stay inside the leg and connect from the top to the ankle. Inside that shape for the foot, inside that rectangle, is another rectangle. So I'm going to draw a rectangle in a rectangle. And then the last little bit of detail on the feet will be like another diagonal. And I was thinking of this as like rivets. Rivets kind of help keep the robot together, right? So I've got a line here and 3 dots, rivets. All right, let me back it up, see where I'm at. We could use some details on that head, it looks like, right? These little shapes on the side of the head, they kind of look like ears, don't they? We're gonna find half circles about right here. And those half circles, one is going to turn into an antenna and another one's going to turn into a switch. So when you scan that coloring page, you're going to see what happens to the top of this antenna. So all I did is 2 parallel lines, a circle, and that makes an antenna. Over here is a switch, which also has a special purpose in the augmented reality version on that coloring sheet. And you see I'm just starting with a rectangle, then I'm going to give it some depth and connect it down. So you'll find out also what that switch is about when you see it come to life with augmented reality. All right, we've got the face. Now, the face on Peter Meter is very important because it helps express emotion. And I've got a sheet here that'll help you see some of these choices that you can make. Peter Meter's emotions are registered on his emotion panel, which we haven't drawn yet. But you'll see that there's all these different, sort of like emojis. These are buttons that can be pressed, and every time a button is pressed, the gauge points to a color and the face changes the expression. So for anger, you'll press the red anger button. It'll point to red on the gauge and the face turns angry. So think about what happens to a face to make it look angry. What happens in this case, you could really see it. It's the eyebrows make a big difference for anger. Do you see that? And then let's take a look at fear. So if you pressed the fear button, you would be on orange. And then his face, his mouth, it's not that different, is it? But his eyes are different. Where his pupils are, his eyebrows, that's a very subtle change, but it makes a big difference. Here's joy. You get the happy. It goes to yellow. And then his mouth it's going up in the corners. His eyebrows and his eyes look a little different. Here's calm. Calm turns to green. And calm is, in this case, a really thin smile and his eyes are closed. Over here is sad. The sad button turns it blue. Look at what happens to those eyebrows. And look at the shape of the mouth. Over here is love. And it turns purple. And look at, do you see this? Sad, it curves like an arch this way. And then love is the same mouth but tilted a little differently and flipped. And then look at what happens with those eyes. Those eyelids come down a little bit. So this is what Peter goes through when he cycles through his emotions, which you could also see in that augmented reality coloring page. but these will give you some hints for how you might want to draw Peter on your drawing right now. And I'm going to just kind of stick with what we had originally and try drawing that. So that means I'm going to start with eyebrows that are like little rectangles. If I were working with a pencil, I could erase that little line because I just did some overlapping. I'm hoping that you'll forgive me for having a line going through and not erasing. Here's my other eyebrow. I want to have nice, big, expressive eyes, so I'm going to start with big circles. This one is looking over to the side, so the pupils are going to be over to the side. I'm going to leave a little shiny spot and then color the rest with the black marker. I'm thinking about that mouth. That mouth is a quadrilateral, so it has 4 sides, but it's a little bit crooked, right? It's going to need a rim around it to make the lips. So I wonder if I have room to add that rim around it on the outside edge. There we go. Now his teeth remind me of like a grill on a car. And so I'm going to start with a horizontal line that goes through the middle. And then I'm going to start doing some vertical lines all the way from top to bottom. He is a little boy robot, so because he's young, he's missing some teeth. Do we have any children that are joining us today that have some teeth missing? And he's going to have 3 missing. These 3, 2 on the top and 1 at the bottom. All right, so I picked an expression that looks a little bit like fear, like he's a little unsure of himself. Do you see that in his face? We're going to start working on that panel next. And he has, these are gears. So I'm going to think about, he has like an arch area. He has a matrix. And he has 2 circles that turn into gears. So I want to fit all of that in here. And think about how to do that. I'm going to start by going over to this side and starting with 2 big circles. I'm going to get out my straight edge again and try the biggest rectangle I can fit in here, but don't go all the way to the top because I want to leave room for that arched area where the gauge is. I'm going to come over here and connect at the bottom. In the story of Peter and Meter, this is like a super big, important part of the story of Peter and Meter. So he just got a newly upgraded e-motion panel, and it's not quite calibrated, which means that he needs help knowing which button to press for each situation that he's in. So he asked the reader to help him out. And that's how this book becomes interactive. There's times in the story that he says, reader, it's Peter. Please give me advice. Which button should I press on my emotion device? And during that time, you're invited to scan the page, pull up the e-motion panel. It's digital if you want. You could just read it normal and decide. But if you want to have a more interactive experience, you can scan it. In augmented reality, it shows up and you could press the button and give him some advice. All right, did you see what I just did while I was talking? I did 2 vertical lines and 1 horizontal line. And if I did it right, I should have 6 sections because Peter has 6 buttons. So I'm going to, inside of here, draw those 6 buttons. And I don't have enough room because my drawing is so small to make those little emoji designs. So later when you color it, maybe you can just color it with the colors that make sense for those buttons. And over here, I'm going to just start with, I have to make 6 sections here too. So I'm going to go with this little half circle in the center. And then I'm going to do a vertical line. And then if you're going to turn something into 6 sections, you draw 5 lines. Did you know that? So I'm going to try spreading out 2 lines over here and 2 lines over here. It looks a little bit like the way you might draw sunshine. But if I did it right, I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, but it created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. Okay, hopefully that worked for you. Now to turn these circles into gears, I'm going to make like knobs on them that you could help spin. And then they get little teeth, or you might call these cogs. And in a real gear, the cogs would be touching each other. And then when one turns, it turns the other. Kind of share energy from one to the other. They pass energy along. Alrighty, let me back it up and see how I did. I think, did I miss? Yes, I did miss a little bit of detail. I missed the shoulders. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do a couple diagonal lines and rivets so that his arms don't fall off or anything. Those need to be attached. Now, how'd I do? Does he look like, well, there's one part I missed, and I did it on purpose. I didn't write the emotion panel part. I didn't feel like I had enough room, but if you wanted to, you could have done that. You could have left a little strip, and then you could write emotion panel in there if you wanted to. How are we doing? It's time to move on to the next step. So right now, we are going to go to the Meta Demo Lab. So I want you to make sure that you can, like maybe on that ticker, see how to get there. Meta Demo Lab was introduced to me by Erica Sandstrom, and the week of AI that Teacher Goals did, they introduced a whole bunch of really fun AI tools. And this one I thought is a really fun, easy way to make something move that you drew. So I'm on my iPad, but you could do this on a phone. You could also do it on a Chromebook, because a Chromebook has a web camera, or any laptop that has a web camera. And you can go to the website and then upload a photo that you've taken of your Peter and meter. So we're going to see if we can do this together. You know what? I'm going to make sure this has been sitting here for a while, so I'm going to restart it. I don't know if I restarted it well. Let me try it again. There. Make it all fresh. I'm going to click Get Started, and it says Upload Photo. I'm going to make sure you can see this. So let me zoom in. So I have a couple choices. When I click this, it says Photo Library or Take a Photo. I'm going to try to take a photo. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to back it up a little bit, take the photo. I don't think you'll be able to see what I'm doing, but I'll show you. You can see it now. It's a little crooked. I'm going to see if this works. So I said use photo, and now I'm going to click next. Now I need to pull in the edges. Let me make sure you can see that. So I want to crop it so it's only seeing the art. I don't want to crop so much that I cut off important parts. You know what? I think this is working. Okay, let's see if it works. Click next. All right, here, this is the part I always wonder about. I want to make sure that the arms don't look attached to the body. If the arms look apart, you'll see that it's dark in between, and that's perfect, because then the arms will be able to animate separately from the body. That's important. That's why we try to draw the arms out to the side. All right, I'm going to click next, and this is really fun. This tells you that it understands your drawing. I see that It knows my shoulder. It knows my elbow. It knows my wrist. This is really funny. It's going to give Peter Meter knees. I didn't draw knees, but it's going to give him knees anyway. So it's going to bend in strange ways. That's going to be really cute for a robot to look like. All right, let's see if this works. Click next. Oh, did this really happen on lives? Oh, my live stream. Okay, so guess what? We're going to go through these steps again. Sorry. You know, I thought if I refreshed it, it wouldn't do that. So I'm going to go a lot faster this time. And this time I think I'm just going to use a robot that I already had. And we already heard about how to do all this, so I'm going to go really fast now. You know, it probably said oops because my iPad was waiting for me to use it, and it probably needed to be refreshed or something, because now it's working. Yay! Okay, so this is the first animation it shows you, this running one, which is really hilarious. But if I scroll up, you're going to see that there's a whole bunch of animations I could choose from over here. So I'm going to pick one, and let's see. I'll just go with this one. And now it's going to give me a new animation. So let me tell you about how you can take this animation that you just created and use it to enter into our book giveaway. Okay, so maybe that ticker, there we go. We can see it on the ticker. So I'm going to click share, and it's going to save my video to the camera roll. And so what I'm going to do if I were going to enter is I would take my animation that I just created and share it on social media. I'm Tricia Fuglestad. I'm also FugelFun, depending on where you're looking, and use the hashtag PeterOMeter, and that way I'll see it and get to see your awesome art, which I really want to see, and also enter you into a giveaway so that you can win the book PeterOMeter. PeterOMeter is, whoa, am I zoomed in or what? PeterOMeter, this book is being released on Friday. So right now it's in pre-orders, which is also a really fun thing. If you can catch the pre-orders now, you get all these bonuses, including like a signed book plate that comes to life with augmented reality, and an animation workshop, or it's a mini course. And you also get the 50-something page activity packet that is full of really fun ideas for pulling out all the different meaning from the book. So if you pre-order, you can get all of those things. That ends pretty soon because the book is going to be released on Friday. So bottom line, share this with me. Make sure I'm tagged in your social media posts. I'm all over the place. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, which is now X. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads even. And then you'll be entered into the giveaway, and we'll announce on Sunday who gets the book. Thank you so much for joining me today and drawing PeterOMeter and making him come to life. And I hope this worked out for you, and that you can go back and watch the replay if I went too fast. Love the concept. Can you please tell us again what the app was that you used? So this is Meta Demo Lab. Oh, it's on the ticker right now. So when you type in metademolab.com, it'll be an animated drawings page. And also, it's Quiver app that gives you access to the augmented reality coloring page. Okay? All right, if there are no more questions, we're going to sign off and give you a chance to learn about the pre-orders, and the winner will be announced on Sunday. So I can't wait to see what you create. make sure you tag me and Peter Animator hashtag. Okay, so yes, the winner will be announced on Sunday. So we'll reach out to you. Okay. Thanks so much for joining.